What the mind of man can conceive and believe it can achieve. Sounds impossible, doesn't it? If so, why do so many people go their entire lives without achieving what they desire? Is there something they haven't yet discovered? Today, you will learn 10 daily habits inspired by Napoleon Hill's philosophy that have the power to completely change the course of your life. Have you ever noticed how most people wake up every day on autopilot? The alarm rings, the phone vibrates, notifications start popping up, and even before having coffee, their minds are already exhausted. They open their eyes and immediately throw themselves into a marathon of tasks, obligations, and distractions without realizing they've lost control of their day before it even begins. And what's most striking is that this cycle repeats for years, sometimes for decades. Wake up, rush, complain, sleep, and repeat. Without purpose, without direction, without focus. It's like being in a car with the engine running, but not knowing where to go. You feel the noise, the movement, but deep down, you're not going anywhere. Napoleon Hill said, "A man without purpose is like a ship without a rudder." And there's no more accurate metaphor, because without a clear direction, any wind seems right, but they all lead you to the same destination: frustration and stagnation. Think about it. How many times have you reached the end of a day feeling like you did 1,000 things, but nothing truly important happened? You were busy, but not productive, active, but not advancing. And this is the trap most people fall into, confusing movement with progress. But the key Hill discovered, and which science confirms today, is that just a few minutes of intentional clarity are enough to completely change the direction of your life. Before letting the world invade your mind, you need to stop, breathe, and define a single goal, just one. Not 5, not 10, only one. It might seem like little, but that's where the strength lies. Because when you decide what truly matters, everything else begins to reorganize itself around that decision. Your brain stops wandering and starts working in your favor. And it's not just philosophy. Research from the Dominican University of California showed that people who write down their goals are 42% more likely to achieve them than those who only think about them. 42%. That's enough to turn a desire into a plan, and a plan into reality. Writing is declaring to your subconscious that you are committed to it. It's like planting a flag saying, "This is where I'm going to get." Now imagine the impact this would have if you applied it every day, in the morning, before any distraction. The difference between those with a clear purpose and those living on autopilot is stark. While some spend their day reacting to problems, others act guided by intention. While some wake up and say, "Let's see what the day brings," others decide, "What am I going to do with this day?" This simple inversion of mindset changes everything. Hill experienced this firsthand. At the age of 25, when he was still a young reporter, he had the opportunity to interview Andrew Carnegie, the wealthiest man in the world at that time. During their conversation, Carnegie saw Hill's potential and challenged him to dedicate the next 20 years of his life to studying and documenting the habits of the most successful people on the planet. A huge challenge for someone without money, without contacts, and without guarantees. But Hill accepted without hesitation. In that instant, he established a single purpose: to uncover the secret of success and share it with the world. And it was precisely that decision that shaped his entire journey. If he had doubted, if he had postponed, if he had let fear speak louder, perhaps we would never have had the book Think and Grow Rich, which continues to change lives worldwide to this day. It's curious how the clarity of a single purpose can redefine a person's destiny. And that's precisely where many fail. Not because they lack talent, luck, or opportunity, but because they live without direction. They run all the time, but they don't know where they're going. Hill believed that failure is rarely the result of a lack of ability. It's the result of a lack of a clear objective. When you don't know what you want, anything will do. And the danger is that anything almost always leads you away from what truly matters. Perhaps you'll say, "But I don't have time for this." And that's where the mistake lies. Determining a daily purpose doesn't even take 1 minute. It's the most important minute of your day. Before getting out of bed, ask yourself, what is the one thing that, if I do today, will bring me closer to the person I want to be? The answer might be simple. Finish a project, apologize, make a phone call, Study a new topic. Organize a space in your home. The size of the goal doesn't matter. What matters is that it is clear, specific, and achievable. Because when you choose something concrete, your mind aligns. It's as if it says, "Got it." That's where we're going. And everything starts to fall into place. Your energy directs itself, your actions gain meaning, and even your emotions stabilize. You stop being a victim of circumstances and become the author of your own script. Now think, how many days of your life have been lived without this intention? How many mornings started with anxiety, worry, and haste, and ended with a feeling of emptiness? What if tomorrow were different? What if before touching your phone you took a deep breath and chose a focus? Do this test. Write your daily goal on a piece of paper or in your phone's notepad, and at night, see if you achieved it. Do this for 7 consecutive days. 7 days. It's just the beginning, but you'll feel the difference. You'll notice you sleep better, that your day has more direction, that small victories start to add up. And you'll understand one of the deepest truths Napoleon Hill taught us. It's not the big decisions that transform a life, but the small decisions repeated with purpose every day. Because no achievement is born of chance, but of the discipline of choosing and honoring what truly matters. How many times have you woken up and, even before your feet hit the floor, your mind was already flooded with worries, bills, pressures, and pending tasks? It's as if the day hasn't even begun, and you're already tired. This is the pattern most people live by. They start the morning carrying yesterday's burdens, anticipating tomorrow's problems, and forgetting to look at what's right in front of them, the now. And it's precisely at this point that Napoleon Hill found one of the most powerful forces to transform any life: gratitude. During the Great Depression, Hill watched the empire he was building crumble. He lost his home, income, and stability. His family faced severe hardships, and many around him told him he should give up. It was the kind of situation where most would succumb to despair. But Hill did the opposite. He decided that every day before getting up, he would give thanks for 3 things: for being alive, for still having a mind capable of thinking, and for still possessing ideas within it. 3 simple reasons, but enough to rekindle hope. And it was from this state of mind that one of the most influential works of all time was born: Think and Grow Rich. And that's precisely where the secret lies. Most people spend their time complaining about what they don't have, the opportunities that didn't come their way, and the injustices they've suffered. And in doing so, they end up feeding a self-perpetuating spiral of negativity. Hill said, "What you focus on expands. When you focus on scarcity, it grows. When you focus on abundance, it multiplies." Gratitude isn't about ignoring problems or pretending everything is fine. It's about recognizing that, despite challenges, there are still real reasons to continue. Think about how many things you have today that many people would give anything to possess. Health, freedom of choice, someone who cares about you, the simple fact of breathing right now. When you start your day with that kind of awareness, something shifts. You become lighter, more receptive, more prepared to deal with whatever comes. Hill understood this at a time when neuroscience didn't even exist. He observed that the great leaders and entrepreneurs he interviewed shared a common trait. They all cultivated a positive mental attitude, even in dark times. They knew that success doesn't arise from external circumstances, but from an internal willingness to see value in every situation. And deep down, gratitude is just that, a conscious choice of where to place your attention. Imagine 2 people facing the same difficult situation. One focuses on the problem, the pain, and the loss. The other focuses on the lesson, the strength, and the possibility of a new beginning. Both face the same challenge, but the second one has a far greater chance to grow. Because gratitude doesn't change what happened. It changes how you interpret what happened. And that changes everything. Now imagine if you applied this in your life, simply and practically. Upon waking, before touching your phone, close your eyes for a few seconds and think of 3 things for which you are genuinely grateful. It could be something small: the smell of coffee, someone's hug, a new day to try again. Do this every day for 1 week, just 7 days. You'll notice something curious. Your mood shifts, your energy improves, and even your problems seem less heavy. Gratitude is a kind of emotional antidote. It doesn't erase challenges, but it prevents them from dominating you. It teaches your brain to seek balance amidst chaos. And, in a way, it creates a lens through which you begin to see opportunities that previously went unnoticed. How many times have you met someone who, even amidst difficulties, maintained a gentle smile and admirable tranquility? These people aren't naive, they are conscious. They grasped, perhaps unconsciously, the principle Napoleon Hill advocated, the power of choosing your focus. And when you choose the right focus, life starts to respond. Practicing gratitude opens up space for more. It's as if the universe was saying, you appreciated the little you had, so now you're ready for more. And this isn't about mysticism, it's about behavior. Grateful people act more calmly, make more assertive decisions, and have greater drive to pursue their goals, precisely because they don't waste energy lamenting or complaining. A silent battle rages within each person every day, and most don't even realize they're fighting it. It's the war between the thoughts you nurture and those you try to ignore. The truth is, your greatest enemy is rarely external. It resides within your own mind. And what Napoleon Hill discovered is that if you don't master this inner adversary, it will sabotage every attempt you make toward victory. How many times have you told yourself, I can't do it, this isn't for me, or I don't deserve this? Seemingly innocent phrases, yet they act as direct commands to your subconscious. Hill firmly asserted, the human mind is like a garden. If you don't plant anything in it, weeds will grow on their own. In other words, if you don't direct your thoughts, they will turn against you. And that's exactly what happens to most people. They allow their minds to operate on autopilot, repeating old beliefs, fears, and limitations that were planted there years ago, sometimes by others. Modern neuroscience confirms what Hill already knew in the early part of the last century. The brain doesn't distinguish between reality and imagination. It reacts to what you think as if it were real. Studies from the Cleveland Clinic have shown that repetitive thought patterns directly impact brain chemistry, influencing everything from mood to physical performance. This means that every time you repeat a negative phrase about yourself, you are training your brain to believe it. The result is a cycle of self-sabotage. Hill experienced this intensely. He faced hunger, rejection, and the disbelief of those around him. There was a time when he lost everything, his job, his money, even his family's support. Yet every day he repeated to himself, I was born for great things. I will learn from every failure and become better than yesterday. This repetition, spoken with conviction, reshaped the very structure of his mind, ultimately transforming him into one of the world's most influential authors. It wasn't luck, it was mental programming. What many refer to as faith or optimism is in reality the outcome of consistently training the mind to focus on what builds rather than what destroys. Hill explained that thought possesses creative power and that the subconscious mind operates like an obedient servant. If you feed it fear, it will create situations that confirm that fear. But if you feed it confidence, it will guide you toward experiences that reinforce that confidence. Now consider the flip side. How many people spend their entire lives saying, I'm unlucky, nothing ever works out for me, or I'll never get out of this situation? These words, frequently uttered, become self-fulfilling prophecies, and when failure arrives, they say, see, I knew it. They don't realize they weren't predicting the future, they were creating it. Hill taught that whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But the converse is also true. Whatever the mind fears and believes, it can also manifest. Perhaps you're wondering if it's possible to control your thoughts all the time. Of course not. Negative thoughts will always surface. The secret isn't to avoid them, but rather not to feed them. They're like unwelcome visitors. They knock at the door, but they only come in if you let them. And once they're in, they create clutter, occupy space, and drain your energy. The difference between those who advance and those who stagnate lies in how they react to these visitors. A conscious person observes them, acknowledges their presence, but doesn't identify with them. They replace the destructive thought with one that builds. Hill called this mental self-discipline, the ability to choose your thoughts with the same care you choose your words. And like any skill, it develops with practice. You can start now. Every time your mind tells you, I can't, add a single word. Yet. I can't. Yet. This small change completely alters how the brain interprets the message. The I can't closes the door. The yet keeps hope alive, and science explains why. When you change your internal dialogue, you activate brain regions linked to motivation and problem solving. Instead of sensing defeat, the brain understands there's a challenge to be overcome and begins searching for solutions. This is why small changes in internal dialogue produce significant shifts in behavior. Hill recounted that during his most self-doubting moments, he would write positive affirmations and read them aloud every single day. He said he needed to shout louder than the negative thoughts. This practice, which might seem simple, has a scientific basis. Researchers at the University of Toronto discovered that verbalizing positive affirmations activates brain areas associated with self-perception and confidence, gradually reprogramming how an individual perceives themselves. But it's important to understand that controlling your mind isn't about thinking positively all the time. It's about thinking with purpose. It's about choosing thoughts that strengthen you, even when everything seems to go wrong. It's about looking at a problem and saying, I haven't found the solution yet, but I will. It's about replacing guilt with learning and fear with action. Hill observed that the most successful individuals of his era, men like Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, and Andrew Carnegie, shared a common habit. They surrounded themselves with minds that challenged them. They gathered with people who thought big, who discussed ideas, not other people. It was no coincidence that these men, despite their humble beginnings, ended up shaping the course of history. They understood that environment is more powerful than willpower. That ambition isn't enough if you live in an environment that crushes dreams. When he was still young, Hill grew up surrounded by simple folk in a rural part of the United States where few believed in progress. But he made a choice. He decided to seek out mentors, books, and minds greater than his own. When he couldn't be physically close to these individuals, he studied them. He read their biographies, assimilated their ideas, and absorbed their thoughts. Over time, he realized he had created a mental circle of influence. Even without being physically present, he intellectually surrounded himself with inspiring individuals, and that was the turning point. Today, with technology and the internet, you hold something even more powerful in your hands. You can access in mere seconds the ideas of leaders, thinkers, entrepreneurs, and people who have achieved what you aspire to. Yet, ironically, many choose to spend that time consuming empty content, engaging in meaningless discussions, and following individuals who add nothing but distraction. The outcome is predictable. The mind becomes accustomed to the noise and loses its sense of direction. Your environment isn't just physical, it's mental too. And if you don't consciously choose who and what occupies your mind, someone else will make that choice for you. Social media offers the prime example of this. Every video, every post, every comment you consume is a brick in the construction of your mindset. You might be strengthening or weakening yourself without even realizing it. The question is, what are you allowing in? Hill understood this and was categorical in asserting that success is never an isolated act. It's the product of the sum of aligned minds. This is why he created the mastermind concept, a mental alliance between individuals who share a greater purpose. He taught that when two or more minds unite in harmony, a new mind is created, stronger than the sum of its parts. That's how Edison and Ford prospered together, exchanging ideas and challenges, each propelling the other forward. But when harmony is absent, the effect is reversed. Hill warned that toxic environments drain creative energy and slowly kill ambition until you become a shadow of your potential self. This is what happened to so many public figures who, surrounded by the wrong people, saw their paths crumble. A notable example is that of Michael Jackson. Despite his incomparable talent, he found himself surrounded by sycophants who said yes to everything and exploited his vulnerability. Gradually, he began to lose his sense of reality, emotional balance, and discernment in decision-making. His environment isolated him, and that isolation came at a steep cost. It's impossible to flourish in infertile soil, and often The infertile soil isn't the world itself. It's the people around you. If you want to grow, you need to ask yourself, are the people by your side right now pushing you forward or holding you back? When you talk about your dreams, do those listening believe in you or scoff? Because whether you like it or not, you will become like these people. If you associate with complainers, you'll soon find yourself complaining too. If you spend time with learners, you'll soon be learning as well. So start small. Try a simple exercise. List the 5 people you spend the most time with, whether in person or virtually, and ask yourself, do these individuals inspire you or drain you? Do they propel you forward or paralyze you? Do they challenge you to grow or keep you comfortably in mediocrity? Be honest. The answers to these questions will reveal your future. If you find yourself surrounded by small minds, remember what Hill did. Seek out mentors, even from a distance. Read books, watch interviews, listen to those who have achieved results. Transform your routine into a learning environment. Ultimately, you don't need to be born in an extraordinary place to become an extraordinary person. You just need to decide not to remain surrounded by what limits you. Your environment is a mirror of your destiny. Choose wisely the reflection you wish to see. Whether you realize it or not, every person you spend time with is either pushing you toward your purpose or diverting you from it. And the truth is, the price of associating with those who hold you back is always higher than the cost of going it alone for a while. Decide to take control of your mind, your routine, and your surrounding environment. Because the truth is, every small habit, every thought you entertain, and every person you spend time with is in some way shaping your destiny. Napoleon Hill showed us that success isn't born from a moment of luck, but from a series of conscious decisions made every day. The decision to think differently, to act with purpose, and to surround yourself with what propels you forward instead of what limits you. If there's one essential point in everything you've heard today, it's this: you have the power to choose the direction of your life. And it starts with the simplest actions: waking up with gratitude, setting a clear goal, protecting your thoughts, and selecting the environment that nurtures your growth. They are small choices, but they are the building blocks of the future. Now, if this content resonated with you, know that the journey doesn't end here. The next video appearing on your screen will help you climb another step on this ladder of personal evolution so that you become 1% better than you are now. Thank you for joining me this far, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.